Today we are going to learn C++ programming, and in this topic we are going to learn C++ program number 1, the first program which we would be doing, executing directly in our Turbo C++, that is swap using third variable. So this is a very basic program which we do, fine. So for this algorithm, so whenever you do a program, there is a procedure. So first you come through an algorithm, then you prepare a flowchart for it, and then you write a program and then execute it, fine. So we are going to follow the same steps whenever we do the program, fine. So the first step is writing an algorithm. So for algorithm, so the step 1 is start, step 2 is input A and B. And what's the use of algorithm? We understand the procedure in a clear way, fine. So here the step 1 says to start, fine. So let me explain you the concept of this. So first step is start and step 2 is input A and B. Suppose my A, I would be making it as somewhat 2. Let's imagine our A is 2 and our B is, let it be some 3, fine. So input A and B. So now we have given our inputs A and B, fine. So now the step 3 is known as logical part. So step 1 is always start, step 2 is always your input, fine. What variables you are giving, right? So in the input you're going to have your A and B for this program, and then step 3 is known as logical part. So this is nothing but the execution part, what has to be done with those input variables, with those input values, fine. So first I said I am using 3 variables, so swap using third variable. I say we don't mention all the variables here, we mention which is important. So here T is my extra variable which I am using for swapping. So I'm going to store the value of A in T. So my T becomes what here? 2, right? So T I am storing in A. And many of you who are learning algorithm for the first time might have got it out, why am I using an arrow mark here. So in algorithms and flowchart we don't use is equal to sign, instead we use the arrow mark, fine, for initialization. So it shows that value of A is getting initialized to T, fine. Next, here now my T is equal to A, that's nothing but my 2, right? So my A value is 2, so my T value is also 2, fine. So now I'm going to store B value in A. So what's my B value? So here after swapping I'm going to write, so A is being stored, B value of B is being stored in A. So A is what now? 3, fine. This remains the same, this will remain the same, and now A becomes 3, fine. Now next step is B is equal to T, right? So B, in place of B I'm going to store T, right? I'm going to store the value of T in B. So what's my value of T here? 2. So this is the logical part. Now let us check. This is the input which we have given, right? So A is 2, B is 3. Now after swapping, after this logical part, after executing this logical part, what happened? My A became 3 and my B became 2. So what does it indicate? First value of A is 2, now it's 3. Value of B is 3, it has become 2. Means there is an interchange in values. So we have swapped the values successfully. And after this, we'll be outputting the variables, and the final step is stop. Fine. This is our algorithm, and this is how we we swap the variables using third variable. Fine. We swap the values using third variable. Next is our flowchart. So there I've given in the form of algorithm, and here I've given a flowchart. So in the flowchart, always the start and your stop is always written in this shape, oval, you can say. Fine, I can't draw it here. So it just, I hope you can understand here, right? So we always use oval shape for our start and stop. And for input and output statements, for your input and output objects, we always use this parallelogram. Fine, we use parallelogram for input and output, and for start and stop we use this ovals. Fine, and for the logical part we use this rectangle box. Fine, we use rectangle. And the same algorithm itself I have presented as flowchart here. You can see here my step 1 is start, here is also start. So instead of writing them in words, I represent them in a pictorial form. So flowchart is nothing but your pictorial form of algorithm. Fine, so this is my start, and after I start, input variables A and B, and then I'm going to store value of A in T, B in A, and T in B, and the swapping happens just now we have seen in our algorithm. Fine, so after the swapping is successful, after the logical part is done, we are going to come to the output A and B, and these arrow marks here, they show the flow of the data. Fine, from start, then input variables come, and then we are going to execute the logical part, and then we again come back to the output, and then finally we stop. Fine, so that is how your flowchart is to be made. Now we have completed all these steps. Now let us write the program and execute. Fine, so now we are going to start our program. So in the structure of programming, structure of C++ programming, if you haven't watched the video yet, please go and watch it so that you understand this program clearly. Fine, so first we always start with our hash include iostream.h. So what is iostream.h? It's the header file which has to be included for our execution, I mean input and output objects, scene and cout objects. And what is my hash include konya.h? It is also a header file which is used for CLR and getch, right? In the previous video I have shown the I have explained you and I've shown the program, so it's clear there. Next, we are going to include void main there, right? We are going to include void main function, and then opening flower bracket, and now opening flower bracket indicates that we are starting the program, right? So now we give the variables int a, b, c. Why do we give the variables? To store the values in it, right? So, and those variables are of what type? They are of integer type. So int a, b, t. Sorry, not c, it's t. T is the variable which you are using, and the semicolon at the end which indicates the statement terminator, means you are ending the statement there. Fine, and after this you are going to add CLR ser function, fine, clear screen function, and then your cout object, you are going to say enter the values of A and B, right? You're going to say enter the values of A and B. And in the previous video, since it was the structure of programming, I haven't explained about these functions, but I have explained you the backslash constants in the first chapter. If you haven't watched it, please watch it. So I have explained you the backslash constants there, right? So there you can see we have used /n and /t as example, right? So now we are going to execute that in real time. So enter the values of A and B, and I'm going to say /n. This is how you use /n. You can give the space, or if you don't give the space also, it takes there. Fine. And then the semicolon, and then double quotes is must. Fine. If you don't enter the double quotes, you'll get an syntax error and you would not be able to execute your program. Then cn means you're giving the values of A and B in the output screen. Fine. Next, coming to the logical part. Now our variables are done, and then CLR, SCR, that's for your formatting, and then cout statement is done, and cin we have given the variables. Now what next? It's the logical part. So t is equal to a is equal to b, and b is equal to t. Right? So this is the logical part which you have written in our algorithm and our flowchart. So t a value I'm initializing to t, b value I'm initializing to a, and t value again it goes back to the b, so that the swapping occurs, and I have explained you clearly. Fine. And then after the execution it must give us the output. So cout statement after swapping, right? After swapping, a value becomes how much? So I'll close these double quotes here. I'll give another cout, your operator, and then I'll say value of a, again operator, and then again I'm going to open the double quotes. I'm going to give space here. Why? To format, because here after is equal to a, immediately a value would be there, and after that if I don't give the space, what happens is they collide, right? The values collide and the formatting would not look neat. So I'm giving the space there. B is equal to, close the double quotes, operator, value of b. Fine. Then the semicolon, and we end this statement. Then we are having our getCH function, and after this we are done with our function. We are done with the execution, logical part, and then we are going to close the flower bracket indicating the end of the program. Now we are going to check for the errors. So how do you check for the errors? You click on F9, right? So it has no errors, no warnings, right? So then I'm going to use my control F9 for the execution part. You can see here. So I use /n after b. So what happened? My cursor came to the next line. You can see that. Now I am going to input the values of a and b. Let us see the example which we have worked on just now. 2 and 3. I've given a value as 2 and b value as 3. Now immediately after I click enter, I get after swapping a is equal to 3, b is equal to 2. Now you can observe why I have left the space. See, if I was not giving space after the double quotes for my b statement, 3 and b must have collided there, right? It would have become a mess. So since I've given this space, the formatting is neat. You can give some other values also. And one more thing, to come back off my output screen, I've used my enter. Just click on enter, you will come back to the programming screen again. And now suppose you think I give some 2 and 6. After swapping, a value is 6, b value is 2. This is how your program works. Fine. And you can also save it. I have not saved it, but still you can save it, right? So program 1, that's all. So after saving you can execute, or without saving also you can execute. That's not a big matter. This is how you execute your program. Fine. So hope this was helpful, and keep learning. Please subscribe to our channel. Thank you.